Have you ever had dreams of settling down somewhere in a tropical paradise full of beautiful blonde babes in bikinis while surfing your heart out? Well, guess what? You can absolutely make that happen. So I'm all for believing that you can make any one of your dreams come true as long as you believe in it and as long as you actually want it. And the way to do it is to actually plan it all out. If you plan something out, you'll know how to get there, because you won't know how to get somewhere if you don't know what you want. And you plan it out, you list out the steps, and you break it down and make it achievable. A lot of things that you think are like impossible are actually very possible. So the first step, and the most important step of all, is to define your goals. Define what you actually want, and you have to dig deep for this. You can't just rely on someone else to tell you what you want to do or what you want to have in life or what your life is supposed to be like. You actually have to sit down, and sometimes this takes a long time. Sometimes this takes years. And for me personally, it took a whole year of me just sitting down, trying to answer this question of what I want my life to be like. And for me personally, there were many different things that I wanted, and I had to boil it down and focus on just a couple things that would make my life happier, or at least make the quality of my life a lot better. Now, to go back to the examples that I talked about when I first mentioned this, we can go back to the beginning and talk about living on the beach, hanging out with a bunch of babes, and also being able to surf my heart out, like surf as much as I want. And all of these were, for the most part, a pipe dream when I was a young kid, you know, like in high school or in college, being able to live by the beach, being able to meet a lot of beautiful girls because I'm a young guy, and also being able to surf was something that was completely out there. And to be able to actually have this be my reality these days is all in part to being able to break it all down. So for example, let's start by talking about living on the beach. When I first came out to LA, Southern California, after college I went to UC Davis. After college I moved back to LA, and I was in LA for a bit, and then I was like, hey, maybe this LA lifestyle isn't for me. I really wish I was at the beach. And one of my friends actually asked me what kind of person I thought I was, because he was like, some people are desert people, some people are forest people, some people are beach people or ocean people. And I was like, maybe I think I'm an ocean person. So I took a whole month and I subleased a place in San Diego, and I stayed there for a whole month. And after that whole month, I realized that you can actually get places to live in San Diego for a pretty affordable price. So I looked for a house in just San Diego at first, because I was like 15 minutes from the beach when I first moved to San Diego, which to me, being from the suburbs of LA, that was really, really close. So I moved to the suburbs of San Diego, 15 minutes from the beach, and I was paying a pretty affordable price. I lived there for a bit, and then I started looking at the prices of what it'd be like to live in Pacific Beach, which if you follow my channel, one of my most popular videos are guides on Pacific Beach, what it's like to live there, how much it is to afford a lifestyle there, and what my house is like in Pacific Beach. But essentially I found how to live in Pacific Beach, and it was relatively affordable. So I packed my bags and moved to Pacific Beach, a block from the pier, which means I was literally a block from the sand. It was amazing. It was a dream come true. Now, what that boils down to is when I figured out how much it costed to live in Pacific Beach, I had a financial goal. And once I had that goal figured out, I could look for a job that would be able to afford something like that. Luckily for me, I went to college and had a great degree, so then I was able to just get a job that paid for a spot right at the beach right off the bat. But the thing is, if you don't have the skill like I did coming out of college, you have to think about what skills you do have and what skills you can monetize on. So for example, if you're a photographer, which I'd spent the last 2 years doing and actually don't use much of my degree anymore, I was able to figure out how much to work, how hard to work, how to price my things so that I can leverage higher value and make enough to be able to live by the beach. And if you're at a point where you're unable to think of the amount of money, or if you're at a point where you're unable to make the amount of money to afford living on the beach, you have to think about how you can improve yourself and how you can improve your value and what value you bring to a possible employer. Because once you bring more value you can leverage for a higher pay. So for the ideal living situation, all you have to do is understand the financial burden or the financial need that you have to be able to live there. Okay, so next, let's talk about how I get to surround myself by a lot of beautiful girls. So I had really wanted to meet a lot of beautiful girls because as a young guy, why not? Who doesn't, right? And a good way to look at this is to consider it as your social circle. Now, for example, you could be someone that actually wants to meet a lot of startup owners or business owners or other tennis players. Ultimately, you have to think about what are all these people doing, where are all these people, and what kind of lifestyle involves a lot of these people. So for me, with models and with pretty girls, I started getting into shooting ads for brands like fashion brands. I started being more fit and surfing more because when you surf more, you might end up going on shoots for different brands and meet other models too. So I actually ended up modeling for a couple brands just because now that I surf, I live a cool lifestyle, I have cool things, and I have some value to bring that brands might like. So I do that, I collaborate with brands, and I meet cool people. And as I kept doing this too, I realized that to actually have a lot of beautiful girls in your life, it just happened as a result of all of this. I started treating girls completely normal, like I realized they are also humans too, which a lot of boys growing up would objectify women just because the media and because of the way we grew up, we wouldn't be able to talk to hot girls normally. And now that it's so much of a normal thing in my life, I'm able to see past the first impression and to see someone for who they are. And when you're able to do that, you actually attract more. I guess it's just having good energy and putting good energy out there. And in the same vein too, this works with business as well. If you start treating other business people as people with their own wants and with their own needs and with their own struggles as well, you're able to bring them into your circle, you're able to treat them as humans, you're able to talk to them and discuss with them what kind of things might benefit their life, and you can dig deep into yourself and help them benefit their life with what value you have. The lesson that I want you to take away from this is, what kind of people do you want in your life? Now, just like I said, if you want business people in your life, what kind of actions and what kind of things that you do would attract those people and to bring those people into your circle, or to do what you do that is part of their circle as well. Finally, I wanted to be a surfer. That was like one of the things that was, impossible as a little Asian kid from the suburbs in East LA. Like, this was strictly a sport for rich white people in the Orange County or from the OC. And when I moved down here, I realized that I could actually buy a lot of surfboards for cheap if I buy them used, because sometimes there were dings and dents and people didn't want to repair them, but they were, for the most part, almost new. Like, there are a lot of really good boards that I got for really cheap prices, and I actually ended up flipping a lot of these boards. I would buy them, I would fix them, I would flip them, and then I would make a couple $100 profit, and then I would take that profit and buy more surfboards. So I realized that you can buy surfboards for cheap, sell them for more, and then buy more surfboards. That way, in doing so, I ended up having an unlimited supply of surfboards, of these like $1,000 surfboards that I have lined up in my house now. And also with surfing too, it's not something that you go out and just do. It's actually something that takes months to actually develop. Unless you have someone teaching you and you're at a good break, the waves are nice and gentle. But for me personally, my situation, it took me a whole month of surfing like every other day to just get the basics down. And then once I finally moved down here, I was able to surf another few months till I was finally able to catch a proper wave. And for things like this, you have to do your due diligence, you have to pay respects to how tough it is and go about and put in the work. I have been to the ER 2 times, sliced on my face here, sliced on my foot, and I have wiped out hundreds to thousands of times. If you want to do something, you have to put in the effort and actually do it. Surfing is not an easy sport. And from doing this and from actually wanting it, I realized that if you put in the effort and you go 100%, maybe 110% too, there were days when I would bike along the coast, watch how the waves break, understand every single spot at this cliff or every single spot in this coastline in La Jolla, for example, and know like what wave direction comes in, what tide level affects the waves. You have to go 110% sometimes. And when you put in all that effort, you're gonna end up being able to be a pretty good surfer or be a pretty good businessman or whatever it is that you wanted to do. Ultimately, the key to goal setting is to actually want what it is that you say you want. A lot of people say they're gonna take up like photography or surfing, but they never actually do because they don't actually want that. And for example too, some people are like, I wanna make a lot of money. But if they don't actually wanna make a lot of money, guess what? They're not gonna make money. They're not gonna take the proper steps to get there. Now your job is, if you really want something, you actually really do want it, think about it, break down the steps on how to get there, and then take the easiest step possible. And the rest will fall into place. Trust me. As long as you have a dream and as long as you actually want it, it's gonna happen. Thanks a lot for watching. Click this button to subscribe and watch my other videos. Make sure you like and comment too. Let me know what you want to make happen and what your dreams are. And I love to be here and to help support make that happen.